welcome to The Point. It is Wednesday, November 18th, 2020. Thank you to those of you joining us on the GBN Grenada Broadcasting Network's Facebook page, the Grenada Broadcasting Network's YouTube channel, listeners of Classic 105.5, 105.9. This morning we are facilitating Minister of Infrastructure, Senator Norland Cox. He's our guest this morning, and we are going to be talking matters of national importance. Good morning, Minister Cox.
Pleasant morning, Blossom, and pleasant morning to your viewers. And let me take this opportunity to say compliments for the season 2 as well.
Thank you very much. Many happy returns. It's going to be a Christmas with a difference, but Christmas nonetheless. So let's celebrate.
Certainly.
All right. So we are going to, let's start with one of the most recent happenings that has garnered a lot of interest in the public, the setting up of the Transport Commission, the Grenada Transport Commission. That is something that a lot of people have been talking about. So just briefly, maybe take us through the bill, the act that was passed in both houses of Parliament recently, and what's next in the step to setting up the commission.
Okay, thank you very much. We have taken a very important step, and rightly so. This is done in consultation with our stakeholders to move from a board to what we now have a statutory body that we call the Grenada Transport. Currently, what it will do, it will assume all the responsibilities that the former, once that process is finalized, which will be the former transport board, all those responsibilities will create a number of opportunities for the sector. Currently, right now, one of the initiatives that we are working on, we are working on doing a study of the sector, entire study of the transport sector in Grenada. That in itself will help set the platform, set the foundation, and will greatly inform this new commission and as to how to prepare, set up regulations, whatever the case may be, to help improve the sector. We have had a number of consultations with our primary stakeholders, but I think one of the challenge and what presented this little discourse in the public, mainly with the bus association in particular. They were requesting a seat on the board of the commission. Now, one of the things that normally happens with boards, some boards are constructed in such a way. In the case of the commission, because the commission will be handling a number of regulatory matters, a decision like if you have to set a fine, but you are setting a fine for yourself. And what that does, it can create a problem for the stakeholders. And we had discussed with them, and based on guidance from the Ministry of Legal Affairs, it would seem somewhat improper to have somebody regulate themselves. I know that they have responded, indicating insurance company, this somebody from insurance, not necessarily insurance company, having a seat on the board. And if so, the difference is that insurance companies are regulated by GAFIN, and they're not regulating themselves. So that is fine. I think someone indicated to me that they had went that far to indicate that private persons use vehicles too, but private persons, they are not using their vehicle for commercial purposes. That is something entirely different. And so I think the whole idea is just create a number of different utterances. And so we understood, and we, from the ministry here, we felt that we have to find a way to see how we can resolve this, to get them more involved in the process. As such, I met with them before I went to Senate with the bill, before I went to Senate with the bill. And we met, we had indicated to them, look, in discussion with legal affairs, how can we get them involved in a formal way? And it was suggested that we decided that we're going to establish what you call a memorandum of understanding, which all the sectors will sign on to. So the bus operators, the truckers, because and the other, not just the truckers, you have the trucks that move goods and goods every day. Like for example, for the supermarkets and so, that is a different sector. And then you have a special license vehicle, the big trucks. That's a different sector too as well. And so we want to have everybody on board, the taxi operators. We want to have everybody on board to be part and parcel of that formal agreement. And that in itself would establish what you call a stakeholder committee who will sit on matters of importance, and those matters will come to the board in a formal way, by way of a brief, a report, whatever the case may be. And so the board will look at those matters coming from stakeholders and vice versa. If they are, look, these are some of the things that we are planning to do. And once you know that it will affect them. If it's something, it's just the day-to-day running internal matters of the commission, then that is not something that will necessarily have to go to the stakeholder committee. But other things in terms of rates, certain standards, those things will have to, certain changes in how licensing and things like that, all those things we'll have to have dialogue with our stakeholders. And so that is what we have presented to them. They have written us asking to sit to this of our suggestion in terms of proposal in terms of the MOU. And we didn't meet us yet. And then thereafter, I heard enough. So the impression was given as if we were not presenting any opportunity for them to be engaged. And I think that was not entirely correct. So having one individual seat or on a board, we believe that still is somewhat inadequate in terms of proper representation of the entire sector. So you have bus made about 12 to 1,400 buses. You have the trucks is about 4,500 trucks. So we have to understand that those matters are, so that is what we're trying to achieve in that regard. As much as the busmen, they play a critical role in the day-to-day operations of the sector. They buy vehicle parts, they buy fuel. The same way, it's the same truck that we have to engage to that moves those critical services like the fuel as well. It's the same truck that may have to move water to a community that don't have water. So each and every, I believe that all are critical in time, because I recall, and you can recall, Wilson, during COVID when all other vehicles were down, what vehicles that were moving? What was the most important vehicles at the time? The trucks. The trucks moving the food to the supermarket to restock the shelves. They became the essential services then. And so the main issue, and we believe that our suggestion is one that is fair, it is workable. We think that it affords everybody an opportunity to be part of that discourse in terms of how we go forward with the development of the transport sector in Grenada. So in terms of them having access to the legislation, I think a soft copy or so. So when I met with them, they raised it with me. And so I said, well, look, I Parliament, but I said, look, I just received my copy for Senate. And so you can have it, because there were changes in the House seating, there were amendments. So what went in, a different thing came out. So I said, this is final here. So you can have this. And I did present it to them. So I mean, when I hear that they did, before the House go to Parliament with it. But I still think that even what came out after, in terms of the changes, still had more merit, because the Senate is where the final passage is going to be, and if any changes thereafter. So that is the issue, but it still didn't change, because there was only one issue that was of concern to them, which was the one of them having a seat on the board. So that is that issue. There was
Minister, before you go on to the other issue, in terms of the commission and the board, why was it important to disband the board and start the commission?
The board itself have a lot of limitations. All right, the board doesn't have an administrative arm. Modernize the sector so that the commission now can collect fees, can raise monies for itself, can operate in a way that it can provide support, financial and otherwise, to stakeholders, the bossmen and other things. As it is now, the board doesn't have the authority to do that. It doesn't have the capacity to do that. So if you want to improve, you cannot do that with the current structure. And those are some of the reasons. Like, for example, things like the licensing is to the commission going forward. So when you're paying for your license and stuff, those monies will be going to the commission going forward. So it creates an opportunity for the sector, because the sector is growing. If you notice, there are a number of things that is happening, and we do not have a mechanism of just having a board alone. Now you have a commission that will have a chief technical officer, that will have a secretary, a secretariat, other staff. It may have somebody hired specialized in certain things, so that you can have a more functional structure that mimics what is required based on where our transport sector is. I mean, if you recall, the size of vehicles that we have right now is far much in some of the tonnage. It's far heavier than what we had probably 2 decades ago in Grenada, and they are growing. So the commission now with the road should be going forward. So those are some of the discussions that will evolve from this commission, from this statutory body. So that is one of the things. The statutory body now will have an opportunity to also raise funds for itself via grant, or the ability to do so. And so that is the difference, and that is the reason why we're trying to do this. The wardens, they are employed under the board, and so handles the processing through the Ministry of Transport in terms of the salaries and stuff for the wardens, because the board do not have an administrative improvement. It's an improvement basically to the sector. So you have a separate commission that would deal with everything transport, and that is the direction in which we're going.
I'm going to deal with another matter that has arisen recently.
But there is another matter, and it's a very important one, and the bus operators have raised it. I think it most speaks to the Granans route, the issue of congestion on the route, that may render some persons their business not making money. In prospective operators who would have purchased buses, go to the bank, wherever, take their loan, purchase buses, and cannot get that. And we're hoping that early December, we will have all that finalized and the commission will be up and running. We hope within the next week. The current operators is that the route is congested. And so they're asking government not to add anyone else to that route. That is what they're asking. Now, the challenge is for us, I don't know, I don't think that we should limit, have a quota for a route. And so this is the reason why you want to have a commission in place. A prospective fisherman, he cannot get a license to fish, or he shouldn't fish because the sector is loaded. I don't know. Then in effect, some persons will go out of business, and it creates a problem for themselves and their families. So that is one. The next thing is that we know for a fact that there are operators who have more than one bus on that particular route. I don't know if we should say that only one person should have a bus on any particular route. I don't know if it is fair to do that. If somebody could afford, I don't know if it is fair to limit them in that case, or to tell them, well, you take off one so that somebody else could get in. I don't know. That those discussions is what stakeholders, together with the commission, will have to sit down and flesh out and work out a manner in which it would be best for the operators, but at the same time, and within the remit of the law. So those are the issues before us. And they have merit. The matter is, how do we resolve that? And so you will hear more about those discussions going forward, because I know that they have tried a rotation system. Obviously, because we have less persons coming into the country, so less opportunity for access to customers. So it's a tough time for the operators right now. It's a difficult time for them, and we understand it, but we have a responsibility not to just govern for one sector, but we have to govern for all. And that is a different where government responsibility lies. And there was another issue about criminal offense and whatsoever. The bill has nothing to do with that. I think there was some mix up with the Tax Administration Act, and so I won't say much about that. There is only one matter of offense in the new amendment to the Traffic Act. The fee without formal approval through the commission or through the minister in cabinet at the time, then that becomes an offense. So if we have an established rate, an agreed rate that is publicized, say $3, thing that is in that bill. So I wouldn't go into those other matters. So that is because that has nothing to do with the transport, just for them. But that is nothing in the bill. So I would advise that persons, don't continue to do that, because that is not correct. That is incorrect. And I guess as much GBN has also do their own investigation and to ascertain the same.
Understood. From what I've some of the information filtered out that created the confusion.
I think the operative word there, I think some word in some
the issuance of the ticket specifically for Grand Dance. I remember a few years ago it was said that the Grand Dance route, the number one bus route, is the one with the greatest number of buses. Is that still so? The largest number of buses?
That is still so. That is where the challenge is. That is something that is most critical. And customer service doesn't mean that just how a passenger may come into the bus, whether how the conductor engage him or how the driver engage him. But customer service goes as far as to how the bus driver drives while that person is sitting in the bus. Does that person feel safe that I am going to get to my destination? Do they feel like the driver is driving responsible? Because you basically have people's lives in your hand. That is it in a nutshell. So those are some of the things that we discuss. As I said on another program, you do not want somebody who, after taking a ride in a bus, decided, look, you see what's going on, I need to get my own private vehicle. Because that is basically a customer that's going to buy a private vehicle unless I go with it. I can always get a bus at a particular time to go wherever I need to go. So they have indicated that, look, they would want to, at some point in time, have some set schedules. So at least, every half an hour or every hour on the hour, a bus will be at this particular place. Buses to your location. So those are some things that I believe that there are opportunities that both this and the public that, look, maybe it's time for government to implement a public transport system, opportunity to improve on what we have. We don't think that bringing in a system now is all that beneficial. You're just going to disenfranchise or take away opportunities from persons in that sector. If we can work with persons there to bring the standard of the service up, then there is less responsibility and less pressure on government to do the necessary, what is required, or what citizens might be asking for. So I don't know, but this is where we are. Government doesn't, I don't believe, want to be running a bus system right now. But we believe that there is a clear opportunity for the private bus owners. So that is what I think that we can get done. But I always say my office is open, and persons who know me, that I'm straightforward, easygoing, and if we have to get something done, we work and we try to get it resolved. I don't believe that any benefits are yielded through conflict. I don't think so, and so you wouldn't get that from this office. We're not set out to create any conflict. We are here to resolve issues because problems are going to arise, situations are going to arise. That is something that you cannot get away from. Now the question is how
We're going to come back and continue the discussion. I see the questions already pouring in. Let's pay some bills and return with To the Point in a short. This is Classic and GBN. We'll be right back.
From Monday, November 2nd to Thursday, December 31st, GBN's Christmas Caravan will be blazing the trail of goodness across Grenada as we journey daily to find the hottest deals this Christmas season. Win prizes from our partners, get recipes for your favorite Christmas treats, and bust a tune in the Christmas Karaoke Fun segment. It's GBN's Christmas Caravan, weekdays from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, live on Classic Radio 105.5 and 105.9, GBN Television, channels 7 and 11.
The Christmas Caravan is brought to you in part by Hubbard's and the Food Fair Supermarkets, Gittins Healthcare, Sisson's Paint, and Bryden and Miners and Ace Hardware.
Stop the spread of germs that can make you and others sick. Cover your nose and mouth with a tissue when you cough or sneeze. If you don't have a tissue, use your elbow. Wash hands often, especially after coughing or sneezing into a tissue.
Boy, long are you up here with, you say you're coming in 2-2s, Why not you doing down there, You dare don't get turning around as foul as one to lay.
No, it's not that. I leave down there early, but I pass in the bank. When I reach it,
Typical Grenadian tank.
You want to hear more of this, folks? Join us this Friday at 8 for We Culture. Don't miss it.
No, that's not how you cross the pedestrian crossing.
Really? One day I just woke up and I saw pedestrian crosswalks on the road. No one really showed me how to use them properly.
Well, this is how it's done. You never cross before doing these things. They might save your life. First, when you get to the crosswalk, you stop. You look left, you look right. If there's a vehicle coming, you put your hand out, making eye contact with the driver, indicating that you want to cross. And only when the vehicle comes to a complete stop, you quickly cross to the other side.
Stop, look, hand out, eye contact. Wait for pedestrian to cross to the other side, then you happily continue on your journey. This message is brought to you by this group of insurance companies, the Traffic Advisory Body, and the Traffic Department.
Welcome back to the Point, speaking with Minister of Infrastructure, Senator Norland Cox. This 401, that's the landline number. That's also the WhatsApp number. Please, only written questions on the WhatsApp. You can also post your comments, questions, let's say 2 minutes, 1 minute or less. That would be appreciated so we can facilitate as many questions as we can. Morning, caller.
Good morning, Blossom. Good morning, Mr. Cox. Hello, good morning.
Morning. Go ahead, please.
Yes. The problem is, what much of the buses bounce in the back because they just stop. They just see somebody coming and they just stop. They don't care about who behind or whatever going on. And another thing, how we can get buses to use the bus stops. Because people pick up buses anyway. That's the same thing what will happen. And they stop on the bus, they just move off. Sometimes they almost bounce in you. So how would they can get those people to do something better? I think maybe you all have to have seminar with those people and, certain times have seminar with the buses. That's how I think. Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. Senator?
and it goes back to the same issue that I raised. And in fairness to the busmen, you have a certain demand. You have to meet your bills, you have to meet your mortgage for your bus, your expenses for the week, gas and rent. So, but in meaning vigilant in terms of trying to ensure that they meet the weekly or the daily quota. And it's because of that issue of congestion that is a symptom of a problem that exists within that zone. Yes, there are reports that they are doing some things like that, but I think in fairness to them, there might be other reasons that are causing that. So it's something that we have to discuss. As indicated, the issue of training and other things. We have a lot of discussions to see how we can flesh out that aspect on that route in particular. Yeah.
There is a Facebook question that is asking really. Okay, the statement started. Let me read it how they have it so we can get it for transparency and accountability. The question on the Facebook said would have met with unions representing workers employed with those bodies to announce a freeze on salaries and other benefits. So how can Minister Cox speak of time?
Thank you very much. That's a very, very good question. And the whole issue of doing the commission, also, it is not a problem for, in a sense, but it more can act as a solution in terms of easing off government, that pressure for government. There are a number of statutory bodies that do not receive any grant from government. They function on their own by collecting fees to support the operations. And we believe that they serve. Additionally, this legislation offers also a clear opportunity for persons to be moved from within the public service and not necessarily hired from outside. So government can start the commission without, and more than likely that might be our initial approach. And it is quite true. It's a fact that we do have financial challenges. We do have a reduction in revenue intake for obvious reasons based on the impact of the pandemic. So I think it's a very, very good question. And thank you very much for raising that question, because it's important that persons understand why government do certain things and how it's going to be financed. And so thank you very much for asking that question.
Good morning, caller.
Hi, good morning, Blossom.
Morning.
Good morning to all. Could think about the road users as those who walk, those who have little bike, cycle, you know. A lot of slackness taking place on the road, Mr. Minister. And when we damage our families from one area to the next, things spilling all over the road, and it just remained days, Mr. Minister. If you know how dangerous these things are. For instance, as yesterday, my son, my little right hand, he riding his bike, so much a big hole in the road. Have to swing out from the road, fall, damage his hand right now. He knows it now. If you have to measure the stuff that the truck taking so you wouldn't be able to spill on the road for the people of this country, please, sir, we beg of you to do something for us, because sometimes that is the only breadwinner we have home. Damage your hand, you can use your hand.
And that's a very important question. It is an issue that was also debated in the Senate in terms of the truck users and carrying cargo and spillage on the road and things like that. And yes, it's a problem, and yes, we have to address it, and we have to address it sooner than later. We are going to look at all with that stakeholder sector, because they themselves have to help us. They themselves have to help us. Let us understand what happens if the covering, if the covering is not appropriate. We have to put some standards in place and things like that. But that will, the best result or best remedy will come from dialogue with those stakeholders. And so we're looking forward to having all those matters resolved. That is something that is high on our agenda.
In Grenada's constitutional laws that permits to give the traffic wardens authority to issue traffics for traffic offenses, or that can only be made, or can that only be made by a legitimate police officer?
That I do not want to dabble too much in that. I know that when we establish the wardens, the traffic wardens, when we establish the traffic wardens, I knew that we had an amendment done to the Road Traffic Act to accommodate the powers, but they have the authority to issue tickets. On how does that approach on the constitutional side? I'm certainly not in a position to do that. Maybe the people from the legal mind may be able to expound more on that. So that I know for a fact that amendments were done to give them that authority to issue tickets, and basically that and to assist in the event that the issue of arrest or so something comes about. Yeah.
All right, let's go back to the phone lines. Good morning, caller.
Yes, Blossom, good morning. I just want to make one little observation. Somebody spoke about behind the vehicle in front of you. So if that person in front stops suddenly for whatever reason, you have enough braking time into each other. Somebody might be crossing the road, not ready, thinking, and the vehicle have to slam their brakes to save that person. And so that the highway code make provisions for a certain distance. I don't remember how much feet now, but there is a distance you're supposed to maintain behind each other. So you have enough time in case something happens to the one in front. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any comment?
That is an excellent. I mean, she couldn't put it any better. I have. I mean, could you imagine? So that is what happens on the roadway. I have this thing I say to everyone, but sometimes you fight and you scurry through, and then you get an accident. So if you all you had to do was just to wait for about 5 seconds or less. Just wait. But somehow we always in a hurry. I don't know, but I don't know if it's something on the road, because I mean, in the outer world, I have seen. So I do not hope that we come to that point where persons come out of the car and pelt stuff behind other people and things like that, So we're just asking for patience on the road. Just a little patience. Just wait a couple seconds, because sometimes you're hurrying and you're going, and you're within the next couple seconds, 10 vehicles in front of you can't go nowhere. So I am just saying that if we all exercise a little bit of patience, we'll try to manage our time, or leave home or leave work, wherever you need to go in time, so that you don't have to be rushing. That she's quite correct. There is a safe distance that you're supposed to stay away from the vehicle in the event that for some reason that somebody may run out in the road and they may have to stop suddenly. Hence the reason why you should keep a safe distance from the person who's in front of you. That is correct.
Facebook question: since the commission.
Road was follow up again. Let me hear.
Who is responsible for vetting the people that will make up the commission?
The first part of the question.
Since the body would be making decisions on road repairs, etc.
Okay. Well, there is an engineer who will be composition on the board. There must be somebody specialized in road engineering. Is a member of the board.
And who would be responsible for appointing these people? Who would decide, okay, this engineer would be on the commission and this insurance representative and so?
That will be done by the minister responsible for transport, the minister in cabinet.
AKA you?
So if I can go through, roughly off the top of my head, the composition of the board. You have the commissioner of police, for obvious reasons, or he's designated for traffic. You have the permanent secretary, who is responsible for transport. So who will be on the board. An engineer, somebody from the Ministry of Infrastructure. So any one of our engineers from the experience and who is available to participate on that. Somebody from law, so recommendation. Well, it could be somebody with insurance experience, or somebody who retired and having experience in insurance or something like that. So those are the composition, but they will be selected by the final decision will be made, of course, by the cabinet on recommendations of the Minister for Transport.
A WhatsApp question. Can the ministry make any intervention in the misuse of bus stops around the island? Many are used for vending, even roasting corn and barbecuing, much to the inconvenience and discomfort of commuters. How can the ministry resolve this problem?
With discussion with stakeholders, we may look to see how the construct of those bus sheds to discourage those activities. And if you notice, bus sheds now, most of them don't have seats. So people can't lie or sleep on them to get your bus. But all that, things like roundabout, all those will be regulated now, be under the regulations of the commission going forward.
I know I have to let you run off, Minister, but there's another question that's asking or suggesting that the ministry needs to do more to supervise small projects because of wastage, especially of material like gravel and sand washing away. How does the ministry intend to step up on monitoring?
I certainly agree with that recommendation by that person. This is something that I have observed. We have started to have that conversation, and we are putting some measures in place to treat with those. A lot of our small contractors, in terms of the standards, they're not there yet with them. But at the same time, we must give them an opportunity to grow. So we have discussed a number of issues in terms of monitoring and evaluation, in terms of training. Last discussion I had with technical team, we have a list of our small contractors. Now we are going to be giving them certain training in terms of being able to do estimates, to do scope, to manage project management and things like that. So we have recognized that is a weakness. I mean, in everything, managing waste is where you're going to really get savings. And so really, thank you for that observation. We also continue to call on the public to let us know what is taking place. Your eyes out there, just give us feedback on what you see happening to help us to improve our services, be it on transport and infrastructure side. But thank you very much for that suggestion.
And you're heading off to a sod turning ceremony in a matter of minutes, seconds actually. Just give us some information where it's taking place, what the sod turning would signify the start of what project.
Yes, well, we have a feeder roads project. It's a 20-kilometer road. It's 11 pieces of road, including one road in Carriacou, Cherry Road in Carriacou. So the sod turning ceremony is this morning at 10, in the next 10 minutes. I do hope I get there in time. At Annadale Junction, we have a sod turning ceremony, but some of the roads will be repaired within that area too. So that's the reason why we have a sod turning ceremony there. So we are happy about that, getting that project off. That project is funded by government. It's an important project, but you see, and that's one of the discussions that we have with the busmen. We understand the challenges of the condition of the roads, and it has become a topical issue right now. Almost around the island, the roads are in dire need of repairs, and currently we're doing St. Patrick's. It's fantastic, but it's almost wonderful. When it's finished, it's going to be wonderful. We have this feeder roads now. We have plenty of other work to do within the new year. We have a mammoth task ahead of us, infrastructure, to get all this work done, to bring our road network back up to where it was some 2 decades ago, when we had almost smooth roads throughout the island. So we want to continue to ask residents in those areas where we continue to work with us to help us to implement those projects safely and abide by some of our recommendations and our signage and things like that. We do not want any incident, any accident while we implement those works. I know we just opened back Marasil. I'm certain that road users are quite satisfied with the quality of work that was done there, and not this bumpiness. It's smooth ride. We ask you just be careful with your foot on the gas, that's all, and drive safely. While we have smooth roads, better roads, there is a high likelihood and a temptation for persons to accelerate much more faster, but we advise against that. So we want to thank the residents in Marasil again for the support. That project. We have one project in the Woodlands area that I know that is creating some serious setback and inconvenience. We want to apologize for that, but we are working with the contractor to see how we can best expedite and to resolve those inconveniences. But we have to get it done because it's a critical area. We do not want the road to break away. So we put it in the wall, a short retaining wall to make sure we keep the integrity of the road together. So just want to say that before I run off.
Minister, just before you run off, you mentioned Carriacou, which reminded me, I heard the Prime Minister make a statement on another platform this morning in relation to Carriacou's Carnival 2021 may not happen. Is that a discussion you all have had? I know you're a kayak man, you're not the Minister of Carriacou Affairs, but you're a kayak. Is that a discussion you have had? What can you tell us in relation to kayak?
It is clear, based on what is happening now, with all our source markets where a number of in the diaspora, the cases are going up. And obviously that puts us more at risk. And it's for that reason, if you understand that Trinidad, who has Carnival at the same time together with Grenada, has also canceled their Carnival somewhat. I don't think I've done it officially as yet. So everything is done, plus I'm really interested, everything is done in the interest of saving lives. we can't risk it. If somebody were to lose their life, we can't replace it. But we can have several other carnivals going forward. We could even, if we want, we could even move the carnival a next day just to celebrate it. You know? So we have more flexibility on the carnival, but we have none if somebody were to lose their life. So we have to be safe. We have to take all measures, and that is the reason why we are making that decision. And that's the reason why we have continued to make those decisions in terms of trying to operate, trying to create livelihood, but at the same time keeping everybody safe. So that is the reason. So I am certain that Carriacouans will understand. I believe that they might be happy that there is no carnival. They are very concerned, even just about persons from Grenada coming to Carriacou, you know. So let alone persons coming from a trove of people coming from overseas for carnival. So I believe that they are very happy with that decision to postpone carnival or cancel this year, whatever the case.
So it's officially canceled, not a consideration, but
well, I can.
So let's say consideration.
That's for me to say that the Minister for Culture will make an official statement in that regard. But Prime Minister is basically speaking in consistency to what we have done and how we have been operating in terms of response to the pandemic. So, and that is in that light I will speak. So they will have to have discussions with stakeholders and things like that. And the Minister for Carriacou may really want to make the statement on that, fine, in a formal way. But I cannot make that. But I can only speak how we have been managing, how we have been responding to the pandemic. And if it's a situation where we believe that our citizens are going to be at significant risk, we're not going to take it. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Senator. I'll let you run off now to that sword turning. You have just about 5 minutes. Take your time and get there quickly. Have a good day. Thank you so much. Enjoy your day. All right.
Bye-bye.
Minister of Infrastructure, Senator Norland Cox, our guest this morning. He's running off to a sword-turning ceremony in the St. George Northeast constituency. So we thank him for sparing some time. I robbed about 5 minutes extra from him, but I think we needed to get those answers. Thank you, our viewers and listeners. I know there are still questions and comments that I haven't gotten to, but as you can see, the minister needs to run off, and hopefully you will have him back sooner rather than later, and we can get back to those questions that you may pose. Mrs. Purcell, I'm just going to say that's a very valid point that you have on Facebook. Read the buses. I saw it, I just didn't have the time to point it out to the minister, but valid point. Have yourselves a safe, productive Wednesday. That's the end of my time today. Janelle and Joseph are up next with the Christmas Caravan. Have yourselves a blessed one. I'll be back with you tomorrow morning, God willing. Be safe and be good.